Shanti.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey, Shanti.
Wow, lovely energy. Really feeling it the past 48 hours with all these solar flares and auroras and things. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey, Liz.
I wanted to ask you something so I can stop thinking about it. It's this idea of progress, or even continuity, really. Continuity seems to be progress as well. Because really, you can't even move from one side of the room to the other without making progress, if you're going to look at it like that.
You know, it's like who you are, you already are. So any progress would be, you could say, in habits or in old habits of attention that have obscured that.
Yes.
But it's, it doesn't, who you are remains. It's just, we all have conditioning and old traumas and stuff like that that kind of can obscure just that resting is who we are. But, it's like,
You see, you can rest as who you are, but you, at the same time, you still have to walk from one side of the room to the other.
and yet, it's like you're always where you are. So it's like both,
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? This idea of continuity seems to be in the world of time.
Yeah.
And in order to see things in a way that isn't about continuity, you have to take very small pieces of time so that they're just now all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that makes it rather weird to do things because you do have to have this idea of continuity in order for things to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's in a way the relative and the absolute, it's just like, it's like that recognition that time appears in you, and yet there's the appearance of time.
And yet the appearance is, sorry?
And yet there's the appearance of time.
Yeah, yeah. So how is it that we can see both these things at once?
Mm. To me, it just seems in the resting, all dichotomies kind of aren't so relevant, not so interesting. We just say it like that. Yeah. Yes, there's life living itself, and yeah, how important it is, or just isn't so compelling or so interesting.
No. And yet we operate in the world of time,
Yeah, 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 no problem.
So we have to be interested in it.
To some extent, it's like enough functioning, I guess. You know, you feel hungry, you head to the fridge and you get there and you can't remember what you got there for. But
Yeah.
then you remember.
Yeah, there's lots of breaks in the continuity.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thanks, Liz. Hey, Rishi.
Hi. Right. Maybe I have the same question than Liz. And what you said, that the relative is appearing in the absolute. So in me are this Advaita. So we put some energy for my laptop. Sorry. So the Advaita, I feel it so much more strong since I'm in contact with you. And it's totally clear. I have no idea from where seeing is happening. But also there's some interest in Dr. Joe Dispenza and his speeches, and I can feel it very strong. So when the relative is in the absolute, and from the absolute, is it possible in your thinking, in your Advaita perspective, to influence, to create this world?
To me, the question would be who would do that? Or who is it that does that? Or
The
what is that?
Universal impulse, maybe.
So, yeah, so then, it's like to me, there's this idea of doership. Like there's a me that can do something. And that's the way we've been raised and conditioned to believe and to think. Yeah? And then maybe at some point there's a questioning, okay, somehow life is happening. Like this bodying activity is not separate from totality. It can never be. It doesn't exist without air. It doesn't, it's, it's part of the field. It's not independent. It's totally interdependent. It's made up of trillions of cells. And there's a little activity going on. Should I have a cappuccino or latte that thinks it's in control of life? And to me, that seems absurd. It's like, and then to tie happiness to it, or somehow meaning to it, success and failure, and it's like, winning and losing, successful and failure, all these ideas. And
What is the idea?
thought, that's all.
Oh,
Mm.
samsara. So I'm here before any thoughts is appearing. And this power of the absolute, I have no idea. I have no idea.
You know, it's like, seems to me that habits of attention produce the sense of me and the sense of the universe that I'm in. And those habits of attention, where do they come from? Who's doing them? They seem to arise and happen. Usually they're so familiar they never get questioned. They're just believed in. The way we're perceiving seems to be reality, but nobody seems to agree with us. And we don't even agree with ourselves. Better just to keep quiet and recognize we don't know anything. Enjoy the moment. Most beloved is however. Because the moment there's a energy moving towards wanting things to be different, there's deceived, no, you could say it's like you know, if we had to put it in words, it's like, sorry, totality, you've made a big mistake, and this is not what I signed up for, and I'm just not going to be happy until it's the way I think it should be. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Vali, how do you say your name?
Some call me voluptuous, but it's actually Vali.
Vali, okay.
There's a nervousness that it notices about speaking.
No worries. It's so
Um,
common. It's so generic, I tell you. It doesn't belong to you. It's just part of the
Well,
human condition.
the rational mind gets that.
Yeah.
And yeah, this
So just examining there's a noticing of
there's a noticing.
something called nervousness.
Yes.
And then usually with that, there's like somehow personalizing it. Oh, this means something about me, or
Yes.
wanting it to be different, or, you know, like there's a few
Well, the fear
automatic,
is,
yeah.
sorry, what I notice is it's the fear that there's an ego here that's could get in the way of me speaking authentically.
Mm-hmm.
And I still see I'm caught in the ego and the I know mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you've made a few comments which this mind has experienced the don't know mind, not this mind. Something here has experienced the no mind.
Yes, and that's here now.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the I know mind wants to own it.
Wants to overshadow it. Yeah. Okay, cool. And that's noticed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something is seeing that thoughts are not reality. It's reality that they
Yeah.
turn up.
Exactly. Exactly. Thoughts are they just come and they go, and we don't even know where they come from, if we're honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have no clue. They appear, but what
And
happens
disappear. Yeah.
and disappear. But
Yeah.
sometimes what happens, or often what happens, is the thoughts, somehow this becomes the thoughts, and there's no space for that no mind.
Yeah.
And what something has seen is I can call you a man, or I can call a flower, but that's a thought in here.
Yes.
And I create a me. I create a me in my mind that has tasted that freedom, and a me that's got to get it, and a me that doesn't have it right now, and a me that, and
Yeah.
these are all
Thoughts.
thoughts.
Absolutely. Because let's slow that down for a moment here.
Mm.
So there's presence here. And then a thought comes. And then either attention follows the thought and entertains it and wines and dines it. But so, and then in that activity of that happening, the sense of me arises, which then claims that it's doing it.
Yeah.
But if you look for that sense of me, you won't find it. You'll just find an activity going on that appears as a sense of me and all the rest of it. And there's awareness of it. There's always awareness, otherwise you couldn't speak of it. The awareness just isn't noticed, actually, and it seems from the perspective of the me that something has to be done to get back to awareness.
Yes. The word that this one notices that is expectations. And that takes me away from that this is all here. And anything that I need that is something somewhere else, it's not this.
Exactly. And so an expectation, same thing, let's just look at it. If it was up to you, would there be expectations there?
Could you say that again?
If it was up to you, would there be expectations there?
Only if I want hell.
Only if you want hell, which you'd never want. So for me, the way I describe that, it's an automatic, unconscious movement that nobody does, but in
Yes.
which a sense of me appears. You could say the result of conditioning or trauma or both, it's like, so, there's old information that is filtering the sense of just being.
Mm.
And we know, we've tasted that the beauty of simply being. Nowhere to go, no one to go there, nowhere to get to.
Yes. What's interesting is that trauma has been such a blessing in my life.
Yes, of course.
And what I'm seeing now is so-called spiritual concepts that have helped me immensely are now in the way.
Exactly. Yeah. There's that allegory of, like, you're going on a journey and you have to cross a big lake to get to where you're going, and you're carrying a boat. But when you get to the other side of the river, you put the boat down because it's not useful anymore.
Yes.
So now you could say the capacity to discern is getting finer. And some of these old constructs or concepts are now seen to be, okay, they're too much to carry. There's no need for them any longer. Who you already are. It's not a doing, it's a being.
Gosh, I'm
And
really
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, I interrupted
So
you.
it's no problem. It's just, yeah. So, you know, that's just like this interest comes and it catches us wherever we are. And so then the inquiry starts from there. And like you say, then there's different stages to the inquiry. And it gets finer and finer. And, you know, at one point there's the recognition. I'm that in which everything appears. I'm
Yes.
that which is prior to thought, prior to time, prior to.
When you say that, what I remember or realize or have seen is that I can have the thought, I need to be aware. And what that does is it creates a me that needs it, a me that hasn't got it, and a future where I'm going to get it. And it just takes me away from this.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's still like a calling or a desperation. So the mind still goes into conflict with I'm not here. You know, the mind's trying to grab it.
Yeah, yeah. But beautiful to see. That's all a beautiful construct. And there's awareness of it. And that awareness is here now already.
Thank you.
Yeah. So nothing has to be gotten rid of. There's just a seeing. To be here doesn't take effort, doesn't take it isn't a doing because you are here.
Yes.
And thoughts can arise. And, you know, it's not about trying to get rid of thoughts or anything like that. It's just about recognizing thoughts come and they go and they're not real. Don't have to do anything about it. I mean, in a way, it's like, you know, the sages have been exploring this for centuries, and they recognize that there's a state where there is no thought, and even the heart can stop and you don't need to breathe for a period of time, but it's not the final stage, because when you come out of that state, you come out with the thought that you went into it in. So there's been stories of yogis that have, you know, literally been disembodied for years, and they come out and their first thought is just what they went in with. And there's the natural state, is called Sahaja Samadhi, where there are thoughts, and thoughts come, but they're not entertained. They're just seen for as a thought. That's it. It's like, you know, having been in this function for a while and having the opportunity, you know, like to be in a group setting and watching a thought come across the screen and asking, can anybody just speak what they notice, a thought that's just come through the space, through their awareness? And somebody will speak and I'll say, how many people had a similar thought? And usually it's 80–90% of the people. I say, how many of you thought it was your thought? So, you know, we just in the field, we pick up thoughts, we pick up, it's like, you know, it's like us, in a way, it's just like, it's more like a television or a radio that just picks up signals. And, you know, it's like, it's depending, you know, of course, it's the same thing like with a TV or a radio, depending where it's tuned to. At some point, it's not tuned to it at all, and it doesn't even register it, you could say. But it's not, that's neither here nor there. It's just like you hear and you know, somebody, you know how somebody can look at you across a room and something in you knows it and will turn and just look at them. It's like, you know, we're in that field of humanity and feeling, you know, like a tsunami hits in another part of the world, and whether you watching the news or not, something in you knows something has happened. It's weird. And you go, oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
I have I had a beautiful flash of that the other day. I mean, many times something sees that these things are appearing, but I'm not thinking them. I'm not walking this body. I'm not
No.
moving these hands. It's all doing it by
Exactly.
itself.
It's
There's no
all
one doing
by
it.
itself. Exactly.
And when you mention the TV, I saw the other day that there's all these programs on the TV and they appear, and I realize there's all these programs in this head that appear, and they're just movies, but I'm not making them, or they just show up.
They just
But
show up. Yeah.
it's not me. So sometimes
Yeah.
I'm able to
So
just
that's beautiful to see that. And then there's no problem with the movie. They're just coming through, and like in Zen they would say the front door's open and the back door's too, so it just goes through. It's like it's not. It's just doing its thing.
Mm,
The same thing with the phenomena of how often you haven't seen someone in 20 years and you think of them, and the next day they call, or you run into them, or it's like this. We're in this field of information and it's all connected, and
mm.
just
Oh, you remind me of this quote that I heard. I forget who said it, but life is a mystery. I think it was Osho. I spent many years with him. I think he said, life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved.
yeah.
Mm.
And it's like if we really look, we hear, and how we know there's a universe is we sense it. And then if we look, our senses actually pick up a very small, tiny band of the available information. Humans are only tuned and only can perceive a very tiny band of the whole spectrum of information. And usually that information that's perceived is then interpreted through our trauma and our conditioning. So we end up with a perception, which is, it's an interpretation. So it's not real, actually. And yet, somehow it's not questioned, or it's because it's so familiar and habitual, it seems real in a certain way. But at some point, there's just seeing, wait, none of this is real. This is all, and if we look really deeply, we don't know what's going on. We don't have a clue.
Something is also seen that this mind is never going to solve it. It's
No,
never going to
never.
get it,
No.
ever. Oh, this mind is going to understand the universe. Really?
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's not about that. It's like, these words are just pointing at a knowing. That's all it is. It's not about understanding anything. It's just like who you are, you already are. You can't get to be more you. And what we call mind is only thought. There is no independent mind. It's just no thought, no mind. It's simple as that. Yeah. And so thinking happens, and the habit has been to somehow entertain it. That's how we've been conditioned.
Yes.
That somehow the thinking is meaningful or valuable in some ways. But ultimately, it's just a thought. It has no real meaning or anything. It's just thoughts come across the screen. We actually don't know what's going on. If we look deeply, we don't know. We don't know what's going on with the spotting activity. We don't know what's going on in the world. I don't think Trump knows, or Putin, or anybody. It's just not possible. We just hear. And life is doing its thing, and it's so vast and so many dimensions. And at the most simple level, either there's like you could say, meeting it as the beloved, the moment as the beloved, or there's resistance. Sorry, this is not what I want. It's one of the two. It's just like one is suffering and the other is bliss. And so just the very gentle recognition of where something contracts, because it would never be you. It would just be an automatic old information that somehow contracts. And then something like our system tries to rationalize or justify or do something about the contraction, but it's just a contraction. It's not more. We don't know where it comes from. It can come from generations back. All we know is that something contracted. We can check. Then in that moment, we can just check. Is it necessary or useful, this contraction? It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's just old habits, Usually when the contraction happens, it produces some sense of not being at ease. Our thinking capacity is the capacity to solve problems. So our thinking tries to help us, but it can't. It doesn't. It's it's like there is nothing wrong. It's just. But if that thinking is believed in any way, then we're down that track of there is actually something wrong. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be gotten. I'm not there yet. Something, It's like
Yeah.
but it's just a movie. It's not real. It's not.
What comes up, what you touched is that inside this is that this has had thoughts and beliefs and feelings appearing and disappearing ever since whenever.
Yes,
But there's
exactly.
always been something here that they've appeared in and gone in
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
isn't those thoughts or feelings
Exactly.
or.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that's where I've got to catch it. That's just another story that I've got to be in that and get there and stay there.
So just recognize that you are already that.
Yeah.
Because this is just another thought now. I've got to. And with that
Yeah.
thought comes tension, comes pressure, and something like that. So the recognition that you are that already, that doesn't require a doing. It's just a recognition. I'm that in which everything arises.
And also the acceptance and not going into conflict with the so-called not being awake, something just accepting. And that has been really somehow this whole enlightenment thing that I've been chasing for decades. I can see that that's the same as chasing to be a billionaire. It's the same as chasing to get this or that.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. It's the same movement. It's the same. That recognition you are who you are already.
And
And
this,
you don't, and that's not a doing.
and something sees that this is it right now.
Yes,
Whatever is here is it.
exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so welcome. Like this is oftentimes we've conflagrated like a peak experience with awareness. But
Yes.
really awareness is that in which the peaks and the valleys appear. So it has nothing to do with experience, actually.
Thank you for sharing that, because a few months ago, I had what I would have called a satori where everything was gone.
Yeah.
Everything. It was incredible.
And you can't hold on to it. That's the whole thing.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
mind wanted to hold on to it. But it
Yeah.
was amazing because it wasn't about bliss or heaven or this or that. It was just empty.
Empty, yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
Like somehow in this journey, like by chance, I ended up taking LSD. It was not I wasn't I actually picked up a Playboy magazine, which were banned in South Africa, and there was an article by Timothy Leary talking about thousands of orgasms per second. And as an 18-year-old, that sounded really cool. So
For some reason, I can relate to that.
so anyway, the initial part of that trip was just so ecstatic. It was like, it's like the veil dropped for a few moments, and I was just, and so somehow I was chasing that again, just chasing that and running after that, and oh, I just got to learn how to sustain and be like, like that. Yeah, like abide as that. So that was like the construct. And then one time I was in Lucknow, and during the meeting, Papji kind of that opened up, that space opened up, and tears were just rolling down his cheeks, and it was so powerful. Like, it felt like no one in the hall could move. It was so powerful. It was just, and then afterwards, I was invited to Papaji's home for lunch, and I was the only one at his table, which was unusual. And so I was just, sitting there with him. I said, "Wow, that was so beautiful what happened today." And he said, "Don't talk about it, otherwise I'll go back into it." And I said, "But isn't that what it's about?" And he looked at me and he said, on the surface of the ocean, it's wavy. In the depths, it's very quiet. And if you have a preference for the depths over the surface, then you're on the shore. And it just hit me like it just cut right through that whole movie of trying to sustain anything. And just being the ocean in which everything is happening can be, nervousness, whatever can come up. And it's the ocean. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing that has to be resolved. There's nothing, it's just movements, you could say. Shakti. And Shiva, awareness is ever present, that's. In the sense, it's the nothing and the everything, it's like. Not running after any state, recognizing that that in which every state appears in. And, they call that the fourth state, or Turiya, or something like that, because it's beyond all the other states. And if preference arises, it arises. It's part of the ocean and then the sea. That's it. That's just.
Yeah. And the words that come up is just to notice that preference has arisen.
That's all.
But it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not me.
Yeah, it's not you. It just came by itself. It will surely leave by itself.
Wow. It's here.
And this
notices.
this character Vali is not who you are. This character Vali appears in this awareness. This character Isaac is not who I am. It appears in awareness, and that awareness is the same. You could say it doesn't have boundaries. It's not. There's not a Vali awareness and an Isaac awareness. Or a Bhagwan awareness and Papaji.
Just the ordinariness of this.
Yeah.
Thank you, beloved.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I loved that Papaji would say, is he said, if you were convinced that you are already that, as you are that you're not, it'd never be a problem.
You say that again? I didn't track it. Could you say that again?
Okay. Most people are convinced that they're not free. that they need to do something. And he said,
Yeah.
if you were as convinced that you are already that as you are that you're not,
Well, what comes up for me is I can be convinced that way or I can be convinced that way. It's still me.
exactly. Yeah, it's just a funny, but it's a funny way of saying it in the sense, it's the recognition. Yes, I am that. And what is that? That is something that you can't say what it is or where it is or where it begins or where it ends.
Yeah, exactly. I can say anything, but it's not it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. This has been a blessing.
Ah, Mustafa.
Hello, beloved.
Mm.
Thank you.
Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer. Oh, Satyam.
Hi, Isaac.
Satyam.
There's a metaphor, Isaac. It's coming to me now. It's about the axle and the wheel. When the axle doesn't move and the wheel is moving. So there's a certain preference to stay those moments when you recognize that you are the axle and you're not moving. And I get caught up in that. And the conversation which you had with Mustafa, that was really like, if you have this preference of staying in a certain axle or the wheel, that it's a little confusing for me. I don't know what you
Yeah,
have.
so it's beautiful. Okay, so you notice there's a preference, and that preference is trying to assist in some way. So then the question is, what happens as soon as that preference arises? Does it actually assist, or does it create? Is it a hindrance?
Yeah, it gives a sense, but it doesn't really deliver the goods. Really,
Exactly.
it kinds of you go in a story and it's like you take a cab.
Exactly. So it's a hindrance. Just to see that it means well.
Yeah.
It's trying to help. It's not, just yeah.
Yeah. and this who we are, there's a sense that this is arising in something which I really can't put a finger on. What is this space or
Look, so just to put it in words,
yeah,
there's awareness, and then there's what we call sensations or experience, whatever you want to call it. We live in a field of information, and our senses pick up that information, and then depending on how that's been conditioned or what trauma there is, there's a dance that happens with not even with the sensations themselves, but with the interpretations.
yeah.
Okay. So that's, so we can say there's experience and there's sensations and the response to the sensations. Like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens is there's a habit of trying to measure awareness by experience.
Yeah, this is wow. This is really for me. This is my candy.
And
This
it's
is
such a
such
funny, when you look at it, it's hilarious. I mean, it's like, wow, they're trying to measure awareness, which is unmeasurable,
going on for years with
unknowable.
me. This
Yeah.
one, this is
And so this habit, you could say, and it's like there's such a belief that's useful without ever really looking and going, wait a second, awareness is, you can't measure it by experience.
No.
It's not possible.
no.
And so,
then there's
another way of saying the same thing. It's like either there's a focus on the content of awareness, or there's a recognition that there's awareness and everything's appearing in it, and the attention remains mostly with awareness, and it notices what's going on, but it's not concerned or it's not busy with it. It's not, doesn't make it mean anything about anything. It's just awareness is, yeah, that's it, simple.
yeah. And there's an idea. It's I think I see it already. It's like if there's a peak, then there's awareness. If there's a valley, awareness is lost. Some that kind of a dynamic.
Yeah, and somewhere that idea was picked up, and
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
you measuring yourself by
you said it by an experience, really.
yeah,
By the content to be
by the
that
content,
by the
exactly.
content, and it can be a very spiritual content or a worldly content. Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
No. Well, yeah. Wow. Thank you, Isaac. So it's beautiful to be with you again and again. Thank you. Yeah.
Sebastian, and then Elsa after. Sebastian first.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
It seems like everything I have needs this. Whether it's a thought or these cells moving in the body. But knowing this does not require any movement in the body, or I've forgotten what it's called. This It seems like this emptiness contains me, which is, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I know. Hmm. Earlier in the past, I thought I had to have some idea of where to go, or like uh, follow a dream or something like that. It seems like when I'm just me, I don't need it. Mm.
Oh,
Me?
yeah. You raise your hand, right?
Yeah, I just didn't recognize my name then.
No problem. I
Thank
I couldn't remember if I remembered correctly.
you. Ah, mm. Really beautiful conversations. I love meeting like this. Yeah. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, soon, soon.
Yeah.
Good.
Hi, Isaac.
Very good.
It's been a very clarifying conversation, and I'm, sort of quite ecstatic about it. To have it, this is the first and last freedom, and nothing else has to be said. And where to put it? And I'm hearing echo. So yes, I wanted to. It's a joke actually, but I'm gonna write on my mirror so that I wake up when I wake up in the morning and I see myself in the mirror. I'm already who I am. Nothing has to be changed.
Yeah, beautiful.
But then again, that's not really it.
No, but it's a pointer. It's just a pointer. It's like, it's beautiful pointer. Just enjoy it. Okay.
Because I'm still sort of in this predicament. I'm having the opportunity of laying awake in bed in the night. I wake up and then something is happening. This whole thing, like awareness is looking for the eye, and the eye is searching. The awareness must be somewhere. This thing is still going on.
Yeah, and just to recognize that all of that's happening in awareness. Awareness is already here. This funny thing of I looking for awareness, it's a joke, awareness is already here.
And then still, it is, I agree. Let's say I agree with what you say. Of course, you're right. And then again, yeah, Papaji said, "You are dead. You are dead." So that's what you say by you are already what you are. It can't be otherwise. But then again, what you just said is you believe you are not dead, and you believe you are dead. You it, you
You see, it's not a belief that you're that. You know it.
I know. I'm sort of playing with words, but that's the little Gerrit that still wants to somehow. It's sort of safer to be just the seeker still, who does not
Mhm.
know, instead
Mhm.
of saying I am dead,
Mhm.
which is, you know, then what is that? Then you know, there's something has to be surrendered still. That's
Exactly.
making too much noise. Yeah.
All is well. All is so well. Thanks, Gerrit. Ah, James. Hey, James.
Yeah, namaste, Andy.
Mhm.
Yeah. No agenda, just yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Ah, Hans.
So,
was a kind of enormous mystery to me that the body activity is not separate from totality, and at the same time awareness is not touched by anything. So that's it seems to be strange, but it feels now like an enormous freedom, and even my nerve system is not reacting with the normal grabbing and resistance, and Mhm. It's almost like love is not an effect of interaction anymore, but just a kind of state of being.
Bas, it was you that hosted. Thanks, Bas. Thank you all. Love, peace, beauty.